Okay, some crazy things are happening to crypto today. Right now, as we speak, matter of fact, there's a bit of chaos in the market, and I'll tell you guys exactly why, but there's a lot going on. But we gotta start it somewhere, and so I'd say the most important, most relevant piece of today was the question of whether or not, funnily enough, the US government just triggered a Bitcoin crash. And when I just checked, Bitcoin's price went to 92 point something thousand. Right now, I believe we're back to about 94 point some. But why may this be? And why is this actually not an announcement of today, but a reveal of today? And why do I not think that it caused a big crash? Well, first of all, when taking a look at it, you know what? Let's actually quickly dive in first. So it was first announced Department of Justice cleared to sell $6.5 billion in seized Silk Road funds, which again was basically Bitcoin that they were now officially allowed to sell. And there were a couple of questions about it, especially, of course, with Trump recently stating that he wants to get some sort of Bitcoin reserve, right? Anyway, there's another account here. It says, the case that is cited in several iterations of this post does not relate to the Department of Justice's right to sell Bitcoin. It relates to a FOIA matter and a privacy issue in disclosing the identity of an individual who consented to forfeiture. Why may that be? Well, there's a person here who said, this person deserves a community note. The case that is cited in several iterations, yada, yada, yada. Just what I literally just said. And they gave some ChatGPT updates on the matter. But afterwards, he quickly came with some additional information stating the U.S. government has been given the green light to liquidate 69,000 Bitcoin, or $6.5-ish billion, from Silk Road. An official confirmed to DB News today. Interesting situation, less than 2 weeks away from the new administration who vowed to never sell it. Sometimes that feels like an insider play, but a couple of things are quite interesting about it, right? One, well, I don't want to spoil it just quite. Let's quickly first of all read it. So, the Department of Justice cleared to sell the money. The federal judge ruled on December 30th, and that was one of the more peculiar parts. Why did we only hear it now when this came out over a week ago? That they could sell all the Bitcoin from the Silk Road marketplace. A years-long ownership dispute over the seized Bitcoin ended after Battleborn Investments lost its bid to delay the sale. The group had claimed ownership through a bankruptcy estate and recently lost a related FOIA case seeking to reveal the identity of individual X who originally surrendered the Bitcoin. Battleborn's attorney called it another egregious example of the DOJ's abuse of the civil asset forfeiture process, claiming the government relied on procedural trickery to make sure the facts are never heard. The DOJ cited Bitcoin's price volatility in pushing for permission to sell the assets. When asked about the next steps, a DOJ spokesperson said, the government will proceed further consistent with the judgment in the case. That basically means sell. The seized Bitcoin is currently valued at approximately $6.5 billion. However, there's two things. One, we can track the wallet. And two, how does this all play in when, first of all, Trump vowed to not sell? That's one. And second of all, if he does, but they claim to want to build up a Bitcoin reserve, does that now mean that they're going to be buying Bitcoin soon? Because if you want to build a reserve, but you've got none, you don't have your billions of dollars anymore, then you have to buy in the open market like the rest of us folk. Now, take this with multiple grains of salt. Matter of fact, take it with a whole bottle of salt, but it's an interesting one. I've said this before and I'll say it again. The seized Bitcoin that was meant to be used for a strategic reserve under the Trump administration was sold off already with a credit line sanctioned by whoever. So let's just quickly kind of buckle in and explain what this means. So what this credit line could mean is, let's say I have $1 billion, but I'm not going to get it until like 3 years into the future. I can basically borrow against the income that I'm going to receive in the future, because let's say it's almost a guarantee, or I have the underlying money, but I'm just not allowed to move it. It's like a vesting period of sorts. You can basically go to all these different providers and say, you know what? I will pay some interest, but I'll pay you back. But let me just loan against the money that I've got here that's locked up. Theoretically speaking, it's there. It cannot go away. I just don't have access to it right now. But it's just a matter of timing, not a matter of will I get the money. And then you can basically borrow against that perhaps. Anyway, but he is basically just saying it was already sold off in some sort of manner along those lines. They spent months distributing and couldn't mention it because Kamala was running against Trump. Now, the rest of the theory goes a bit more into the rabbit hole, so I will just quickly say he's just basically stating that already some crazy stuff happened to it in terms of that they're sold, but they will basically have to just buy back on the open market, basically like how MicroStrategy is doing it. And some people were saying, but you can see the coins in the just because you can see the coins, first of all, never really says anything about who they belong to. That's a first. And second of all, theoretically speaking, right? I'm just naming some examples. You could have actually already sold the tokens and just not sent them yet. You could have already promised the tokens and you will never send them. It could literally be just like the fact that BlackRock, for example, right? I'm just giving examples. I'm not saying this has happened. But BlackRock, for example, doesn't really own, maybe they own Bitcoin, maybe they don't. They control Bitcoin from the perspective they hold it for their clients, but how much exactly they themselves own as a unit, that's quite hard to say. But so whenever they buy Bitcoin, even though it's in behalf of the people, we say they've got it. So if they sell, if it's just linked to their wallets, but it's not them or it might be them, we don't really know exactly what's going on there. But theoretically speaking, it could go from one owner to another, staying in the same wallet because it's within a closed ecosystem, and we'd never know. Anyway, the whole matter is quite interesting if you ask me, because on the one hand, we've got some very negative news, right? Oh, they're about to dump $6 billion on the market. And if we take a look at how much of an influence MicroStrategy has had when they were top blasting buying, that says to me two things. One, now it's negative because 6.5 bill is quite a lot. But more importantly, if they're eventually going to have to buy, just like how MicroStrategy has now done it, that could be extremely exciting. And not just only for Bitcoin holders. No. People often like to bundle these things together in the sense that, oh, Bitcoin news is only for Bitcoin holders and altcoin news is only for altcoin holders. Very often, just like right now, it's all interconnected. I mean, something really as exciting like this happening for Bitcoin will obviously also translate over into the altcoin market. And I mean, we've recently talked about how good coins like XRP have been performing versus Bitcoin and versus ETH. And so that might sometimes give you like a false sense of that it doesn't matter whatever Bitcoin is doing because XRP, for example, will still thrive regardless. Not fully true. If Bitcoin all of a sudden goes for a crazy nosedive, not just trickle down a little bit like it's been doing recently, but nosedive, we'll probably also see a similar sort of results for many alts. And I do believe that for most alts, it will be worse, even though I think camera's a bit stuck, I think, again. I don't know why it sometimes happens. I was trying to say every now and then, some coins will move completely different to it, and that is to Bitcoin, right? Just in a completely different move. But for the most part, it just follows along for the most part. And that's always what we always like expect to happen, I should call it. Anyway, recently here, the market's been quite turbulent, huh? We've been going up and down and up and down, and just 2 days ago, it looked like we were finally back, and just now again, since we're back to, 92,000 or so, it feels like, not a bear market is back, but it feels again like the lower part. Let's actually put one thing forward. Man, these are all good opportunities to buy if you are trading nearly anything here. Like almost all of these have fallen significantly. Ethereum is one of the only ones that doesn't really pick up from those bottoms. It seems like Ethereum is kind of like a garbage one. But even right now, back at the $3,200 range, generally speaking, buying in this area has been quite profitable quite consistently. But so it goes for Bitcoin, so it goes for almost any of the coins here. Also, Solana is quite an interesting one to name something. But my point being here, man, it's been really, really nice this crypto cycle because they fall off really hard. A lot of altcoins fall like 20-30% or so. But for some strange reason, Bitcoin just stays the same all throughout. It kind of just hovers a little bit, but stays mostly the same. But then they just bounce back so freaking hard. And that's why I said a few videos ago that this has been one of the most profitable runs. Mostly because of how altcoins are performing. They just remain so strong with proper bounces, and that's one of the best things you can have for trading. Anyway, that's it for this little quick crypto update. Just wanted to update you guys on what the government was doing, as I thought it was quite interesting. If you're looking for a platform to trade, you can check out the links down below. And that's about it for this little crypto update.